Hi y'all, welcome back to Regina's Crafting and More. I'm Regina. I know I haven't done anything since I finished the patriotic quilt blocks to make a table runner or a quilt or a table topper or a door display or a wall display. Um, I have created a Memorial Day remembrance, or 3 blocks I've created, not but 3. I'm going to call them blocks for Memorial Day remembrance. And I'm going to be putting them in one of those Ackfeld triple display things. Let me turn this around here in a second. And so it'll be 3 different blocks, and this is the first one. Remember there, okay? And the second one will be sacrifice for our freedom. And then the third one will be honor the fallen heroes. All right, so there'll be 3, and we'll call each one of these a block, okay? This will finish out about 11 by 6 1/4, 11 by 6 1/4. And it will be bigger than some of the other designers have in using these triple display stands. So let me turn this around real quick. Hang on. All right, so here's this block. I'm holding it kind of in the position that it's going to be once it's done. It'll have little tabs up here so that you can slide them in through the groove here on this rung, we'll call it. And it'll sit in here like this. And if you notice, this is the bottom rung. And it hangs below that. It doesn't hang within this space. This space is about 9.5 inches long by 6.5 inches wide. And I wanted it bigger than that. So I've made it to hang below this. This is approximately 11 inches from top to bottom, and about 6 1/4 inches from side to side. And like I said, there'll be 3 of them to go in the stand. This is the larger of the Ackfeld triple display stands. And like I said, the little one, there's one smaller than this, and whenever you look it up on Amazon or on Ackfeld's site, it says 4 by 9, and that's a little bitty tiny stand. And I just wanted something a little larger so I could make these nice and prominent on the display thing. So let me turn the camera around and get started. Before I do that, I'm going to show you what we're going to need. All right, so hang on. Now I will have these fabric requirements in the instructions, and the instructions are going to be really like making a mug rug, because that's what they're kind of like, just a larger version of a mug rug. So you're going to need 3 pieces of fabric for the background, where this part is going to stitch. There you need about 7.5 inches wide by 10 1/4 inches tall. And this piece will only go from, whoops, there you go. This piece will only go from here to here. Okay, and then the piece for right here is going to be 2 1/4 inches tall by 7 1/4 inches wide, or 7.5. I would cut it 7.5. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to put it as 7.5. Where's my pen? Just to make sure you've got enough. Let me make this correction real quick. 7.5. All right. And your batting is going to need to be 12 inches by 7.5. Let me make that a half. Okay, just to give you plenty to hold on to. And then you're going to need something for tabs. Now, I'm making mine out of fabric. I know some of the other people use grosgrain, I think, on some of theirs. I don't want to use the grosgrain. I want it to match my my project. So I've made a little tube, and I cut a piece of fabric 4.5 inches wide by what did I say, 13.5 inches long. As I cut a piece of fabric. I folded it in half and pretty sides together, and sewed 1/4 inch, and then I turned that tube inside out. So the tube would have been, you know, and let me do this. The tube would have been running this way, okay, across here. And then I cut 2.5, let's see here, let me look here. Did I write it down? Please tell me I wrote it down. I cut 1 3/4 inches wide. Oh no, it ends up being 1 3/4 inches wide. And then I cut 2 1/4 inch pieces out of that tube to make these tabs. Okay, so these are going to end up being up at the top. And if you make the tube 13.5 inches wide, you'll have just enough and a little bit left over to make 6 tabs. Okay, 2 for each display unit, 2 for each block, we'll call it. And I guess that's, so you need your bottom fabric 10 1/4 inches long by 7.5. This one 2.5 inches wide by, 2.5 inches high by 7 inches long. And then your little tabs, and you'll need your batting to be 12 inches this way and 7.5 inches this way. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I am at the machine right now, but before we get started, I want to make a little comment. I'm using batting in this. I think it's large enough. It's done in the 8x12 hoop. So for this one, I think maybe it's big enough that it's going to have enough weight on it that it's going to keep it, hanging nicely. I'm going to use this fusible interfacing that I have. You might want to use fusible fleece. I know Gloria Horn in her projects that she does, she uses a lot of fusible fleece in most of her projects now. I don't have any to spare right now. Let me turn this volume down on this show that I've been watching. I'm going to just use this fusible interfacing with my batting and hope that that does the job that I want it to do. So let's get started. Okay, so I've put red in because that's going to be the first piece that I actually sew down. So let me get started. The first color stop is going to stitch a placement line for my batting. And I will be back when this is done. All right, so it has stitched my placement stitch. Now, because I'm going to use this interfacing, I'm going to lay this down and stitch it again. I'll be right back. So I don't like trying to cut 2 different mediums at the same time. That's just me personally. You do whatever you want. So I'm going to let it stitch this down. I'm going to trim it, and then I'm going to put my batting on, and I'm going to trim it. Because I don't want to have to do all that at the end. All right, so I am using these applique scissors to trim this back. Hang on, let me scoot this back a little bit. There we go. I don't like using my little titanium snips. They're actually made to cut thread and not material, and I got kind of upset with Famore when I first bought these that they lost their edge so fast. And when I was talking to Brent at the last quilt show that he was at, he and I both were at, he said, well, these aren't meant to cut fabric. Now, I know Gloria uses them all the time, so she might have scissor sharpener person around that can sharpen them. I don't, so I'm going to use them for what it was supposed to be used. And I'm just using my applique scissors. And they work great. And they get right up against the line. Well, I'm not even cutting, I'm just pushing it. That's how wonderful they work. Now this might be a little weird. Oh no, there he goes. Okay, so I don't even have to do that motion. All right, so now I'm going to put my batting down and let it, oh dear, did I get too close? Oh my goodness, let me give this a little, oh, this, I might cut this just a little too short. It needs to be cut about 12.5 inches. Did I not do that? Let me see. Oh, that's going to be close. And so is that. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so I have had to back up to color stop number 1, which is the placement stitch, or I guess it's actually color stop number 2 that sews it down. I don't know. Did this not bring in the right? Hang on. All right, I did have the right file in. I thought maybe I didn't. All right, so I backed up because it tacked down that interfacing, which in somebody else's case, if you were using fusible fleece, number 1 would be the placement, number 2 would be the tack down. So I had already done the tack down, so I backed up one, so it would tack down again because I'm putting the fleece on top of that fusible interfacing. So I have tearaway stabilizer in my hoop, and I hope this catches, and I'll be back. All right, I just didn't cut it straight. I guess maybe whenever I folded it over, I was on a curve or something, and I did cut it a little. It's a little too short, but it covered. I placed it down there and it covered, so I'm good. So color stop number 3. So we're pretending that this is the batting, stitch down color stop number 2. Color stop number 3 is going to stitch a placement for your top fabric. Okay, so I'm going to let that sew down. Stitch. I'm going to let that placement stitch go right now. And I have red in. Remember, I started with the red because I knew this was my first piece of fabric that was going to tack down. And I should have cut that batting. So before I place this, I'm going to cut the batting back. I don't want to have all that bulk in my seam when I cut it. So I'm just cutting it back. So I'm tilting my applique scissors just a little bit. And this would work a little better if I went to the table. But if you hold your batting up, and I'm going to have to go to the table because I need to cut this. So let me go cut the batting back and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to show you. When you use these applique scissors, if you kind of tilt your scissors just a little bit and hold your batting up, then it doesn't get caught. If you hold them flat, it's going to probably pick up some of the threads in the batting down here if you hold them flat like this. So if you just curve them up a little bit, it does the job. Let me get back to the machine. All right, so it already did the placement stitch for the top piece of fabric, and and I didn't trim that, so I'm going to use these. I'm sorry, and that doesn't work well. Let me get those other scissors. Hang on. So the advantage of using these is when you're at your machine. Okay, you can get over your hoop without any problems. There we go. Put those aside. All right, so I'm going to put my fabric and center it as best I can. Okay. And then I'm going to stitch color stop number 4, which will tack down this top fabric. And yeah, you're going to have some fabric overlap but better a little bit of overlap than not enough. Now I'm not going to cut that fabric back. I just didn't want the bulk from all the batting to interfere. So I'm going to take my bottom fabric and you know what, I'm going to cut that red fabric back. Alright, so I did cut it close to the edge, and I'm going to overlap my blue fabric. Now there's going to be a satin stitch that stitches across here. So you are going to want to trim your fabric back to make sure that it's caught inside that satin stitch. Alright, so color stop number 5 is going to tack this down, and I'm going to change thread colors. Alright, so I just held the fabric down as it went around and did the tack down of your fabric for the bottom part of the block. And I'm going to trim this back. Alright, so I trimmed my fabric back. Now, color stop number 7 is going to stitch the decorative fill for the top part of the design. So I've separated the colors and the design for the decorative fill, because this one, it stitches the waves up and down here it stitches them vertically, horizontally up here and vertically down here. So you can stitch these decorative fills any color you want. I'm going to use white up here for red, white, and blue. Down here, I think I'm going to use a silver on the vertical stripes. So hang on, let me do a thread change. Alright, so I put in a white thread to do the waves, and because there is text, whenever I use the function to put in the decorative fill, it cut out some of those waves so that the text would not be stitching over it. So it's going to have the word remember in there. And here pretty soon it's going to stitch some actual waves that go horizontally. So I'll be back here in a minute. Now I just want to tell you that it will stitch. Oh, I gotta change bobbins, hold on. Alright, so it's going to stitch, as I was saying, right on the very top of that fabric for the bottom part. And that's okay, because we're going to have a satin stitch that's going to be covering that up. So it's starting to stitch some of the waves that's on the top part to kind of give that wave up there. Alright, so now it stops before it comes down here to stitch the vertical waves down here, the vertical stripes, I should say. So you have the chance to change colors if you want to have the colors different from up here. Now I do want those colors to show up, and I could have used silver up here, but I didn't, and I should have. Oh well. Alright, so now it is doing the decorative fill on the bottom part of the block. It's done the top, and it's leaving the, it's not stitching where there's going to be other embroidery. so it's leaving this all open. So I'll remind you of the design. Sorry. So that's the design that we're doing. So it's not stitching anywhere that where the flag is or the soldier. Alright, so it's finished doing all the decorative fill stitching, and I used the silver down here, and there's hardly any difference in the color. That silver is so light. And now it's doing the word remember, and I'm doing it in a not a really dark blue, but in a navy blue, and I think that'll show up, and it's a good contrast with the decorative fill behind it. You use whatever you want to use, and if you do this, you don't have to put it on a stand. You can, put it on a dowel and hang them up, or you can hang them up individually in a little area. You can make pillow out of them, 3 pillows out of them, and use them for decoration, like on a bench. There's so many different things you can do with these. So I'll be back when this is done. Alright, so it finished stitching the word remember, and I'm not liking that decorative fill in white. I should have done it in maybe a different shade of red, or I don't know. Anyhow, so right now it is stitching the stars for the flag. I don't know, there you go, you can see that. And it does take a little while because it's stitching all those little stars, and it has to do a tack down, and it has to do a tie off, and for each one of those stars. So I will be back in a little bit when it's stitching the blue around it to make those stars stand out. Alright, so the next color is stitching the stripes in white for the flag. And I'm just going to leave the same white in there. I've made it a separate color stop in case you wanted to do it in a cream color or a silver or whatever, based on what fabric you use. So that's color stop number 13, getting ready to stitch to do the stripes. I'll be back when these are done. Alright, so the stripes have finished stitching, and it's gone to color stop number 14, which is the navy for this part with the stars on it. Alright, so I wanted to show you where we are so far. It's stitching the blue for the stars, and everything's going well. This does take quite a time to stitch out. This is the 8 by 12 size. Yeah, the large, I'm calling it, that goes on the triple display stand from Ackfeld. And this will measure from top to bottom about 11 inches. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, so the blue has finished for the stars, and I just want to make a quick little statement. So I was having trouble with my thread shredding and getting clogged up. One thing that helped, well, the only thing, because this is all I tried, is I had remembered seeing somewhere that if you are having this issue and you decrease your speed, that it may help. And it did indeed. So I had it at 700 speed, and I decreased it to 600 speed, and the shredding stopped. So if your thread is shredding and breaking, you might try slowing your machine down. So with that being said, the next color stop, number 15, is red. It's going to stitch the red stripes, and I'll be back just a second. All right, so I've changed to my red, and now it's starting to do the red stripes. And then the only thing we'll have left to do is the soldier, and then the motif that goes around the edges, which is stars. Let's see, we've got 6 stops. Oh, putting on the backing and everything. So I will be back when these stars are finished. I mean, these stripes are finished. All right, the red stripes have finished stitching. I had a blooper with my bobbin up here, so I had to go back over it, and it shows. And now it's time to stitch the soldier, and this is just a shadow of him in all black. Now, y'all know that I use a black bobbin when I'm stitching with black thread, so I'm going to change my bobbin and my thread, and I'll be back. All right, I have my black bobbin in, and there's my boo-boo. Oh, that makes me so mad. And I've got my black thread in the top, so I'm going to stitch color stop number 16, which is the soldier. Alright, so now it's going to stitch the shadow of the soldier. And this is going to take a little while, because that's pretty big, all in one color, black. So I'll be back. Alright, so we've finished with this little motif of stars going around the bottom part of the block, we're calling it. And the next step is to attach the tabs. So color stop number 18 is going to stitch, and I'm going to change thread colors. Hold on just a moment. Alright, so color stop 18 is going to stitch a placement stitch for your little tabs. Alright, so you want to take your little tabs, and you've got a blank spot, and you've got a little mark going up, and then a blank and a little mark going up, a blank and a little mark, a blank and a little mark. So you want to put your tabs just over the original line in between those tabs. Now, I'm going to use this 3M medical paper tape, and I'm going to tape down my tab. It'll probably stitch over that. I'm going to tape it on the bottom, and I'm going to tape it on the top so it does not move. We don't want it moving. And you know what? I'm going to make that tape a little longer because I don't want it to take this piece off. I'll use it on the other one at the top. And I've taken a longer piece to go across the outside edge of that tab. Okay, so I'm going to put it between the marks. Now I'm going to use my little ruler to make sure that I have these edges aligned. I've got it right up against there. Okay, so I've got, okay, so I'm aligning, get my head, this edge, this folded edge, I'm aligning this one with the other one. And I'm trying to find a, there we go, let's put that there and put that there. Okay, so I've got that aligned, I've got it between those tabs at the top. All right, and I'm going to take a longer piece once again, and I'm going to put it down here on the bottom. And we're going to hope and pray that I align that correctly. So I'm just going to push this up here again. And it seems like it is. Okay. All right. So color stop 19 is going to stitch across this to hold those tabs down. There we go. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. And I'm taking the medical tape off. This is just, I buy this on Amazon. I know a lot of people are really loyal to Kimberbell. They use this paper tape. And I found this on Amazon. You get, is it a dozen rolls? I can't remember, but just look up 3M paper medical tape. All right, so I'm going to leave this medical tape on the tops, the top of the tabs, because this is going to end up folding up when we flip it out. So now we have to put the backing on. And it's going to be two pieces that are going to meet up just like a mug rug does. You're going to have one piece come down here and come just over the center mark, and you're going to have another piece that goes over that. All right, so I'll be back. All right, so I have my two pieces of backing fabric, which we're doing this just like we do mug rugs, where you cut two pieces, basically the length plus a half or so. This is cut 12 and a half inches long by 7.5 inches wide, each piece. So this is giving us a pocket to be able to turn this out. Your tabs are still taped down, and we're going to put this first piece right up above that stitch line for the tabs, like up to the top of where this red is, or where your top fabric, whatever color you're using. We want to make sure that we've got it centered. All right, so I just kind of bring it up like that, and that looks centered. And I'm going to take my bottom piece and I'm going to lay it on top, overlapping, ensuring that I have plenty down here, and I do. Now you want to tape this center piece down. We do not want to risk having the foot of the machine catch while it goes around and stitches this down. So this will enable us to turn out our project and not have to do any ironing or fusing or anything of a hem. All right, so I'm going to tape this down up here too, since we have some bulk with the tabs. So I'm going to tape that down. Well, I didn't cut it long enough. I don't want any risk, okay? And I'm not too worried of it coming down because I think it's going to go that way, but I better check. Let me just put a piece of tape down here because I actually do not remember which way it's going to go. All right, so I'm just going to put that there. All right, so color stop 20 is just going to tack this down. And I have white thread in here. You use whatever you want, something that's going to blend in. Okay, so this is double tacking those tabs in. And I'm just ensuring that that is going to hold and everything stitches smoothly. everything's good now. So something happened when I pressed this. This is going to end up being on the inside, so I'm not worrying about it. And since my fabric is doubled, it's not going to show. All right. So the final step is going to do a triple stitch around here. Now, if y'all have done any of my mug rugs, I do that to ensure this does not come apart. So like I said, this does take a little, especially this size. This is the largest size, the large. So I've created a little bit smaller one that will fit inside those wire frames. This one will go outside that bottom wire frame and hang down. It's longer, bigger. So I created another one called a medium large, and it will fit, it'll be like 9 1/4, which will fit inside that frame. Then I created a medium, which will fit the other frame, the smaller frame, hopefully. I don't have my frame yet. I had ordered a design from a Janine Babbage design that I was going to do, and it hasn't come. I'm not going to say who I ordered it from, but it's been on order a very long time, and I don't know why. I'm half tempted to cancel it. So I just got antsy because I wanted to get this done by, in order for you to be able to do it for Memorial Day. So I just created my own. I ordered the large stand because I knew I wanted a larger one than using that smaller stand, and just created my own. Janine Babbage does beautiful work, absolutely gorgeous work, and I was looking forward to doing her God Bless the USA, but it just hasn't arrived, and I'm half tempted to cancel the order. But I think it'll affect my overall order and my shipping costs. So, like I said, I just created my own. So this is the first time that I've ever created one of these, and it really is a test stitch. All right, so we're done. Now we got to turn it inside out. All right, I've removed all the tape from my project, and I'm just taking off this tearaway stabilizer. I really should have used a medium tearaway stabilizer. I'm going to have to stitch this again because I did make some changes, and I want to make sure they work out right. I've made this just a little bit wider and changed some of the decorative fill settings. Let me get my scissors. Alright, thread scissors, and alright. And I think you should go through and snip all these little thread tails that are showing. I'm going to do that and I'll be back. Alright, I got all my thread tails, especially on these corners, trimmed back. Well, I thought I did. Gotta look just the right way on some of these. Okay, I might have to turn the camera off while I finish. I think I got them all. Okay, so now we want to trim this back. And I know that I give you measurements that are a little larger, so if you do one of these and you want to adjust your fabric sizes, you do it, okay? I like to give myself plenty of material, so if I have to do some cutting by hand with my applique scissors, you know, I've got this to be able to pull up. If you only have a 1/4 inch, it makes it a little difficult to be able to hold this up to cut it properly and get it all the way back to the line. So I'm going to use my quilt ruler. This is the 6 by 12, And I'm going to put my 1/4 inch, I'm going to have to do this in 2 steps, I believe. I'm going to put my 1/4 inch line on the outside line of this block. Okay, so it's the outside line right here that's stitched all the way around. Okay, so 1/4 inch all the way down, 1/4 inch all the way up, and I'm using one of the horizontal lines to line up the top, so I make sure I'm trimming straight. I guess that comes from being a quilter. All right, so we're going to cut all this excess off. And we're not really cutting that much fabric, all right? A few little scraps. Okay, so we're going to turn it around. We're going to do this all the way around. Make sure you use a horizontal line and your vertical line, and that everything is lined up properly. Okay. And let me finish and I'll be right back. All right, so I've got that done. Now we need to curve these edges. And I'm just going to come off and curve that around, all the way around. Okay, so I'm just coming off of the straight line, the 1/4 inch, and just curving around to the top. And this one, I'm just going to cut off at an angle. I hope you can see that. I'm going to cut that there, and I'm going to cut that across there. So all we have to do is turn it out now. So let me, and it is a little stiff. Since now remember I used batting and then I used some type of an interfacing. It was a little heavier. It wasn't real flimsy. It wasn't like a... All right, so let's turn this in. So I'm going to put my finger down here and I'm just going to push up on that one. And like I said, that interfacing that I used was not like dress interfacing. It was something else, and I can't believe I don't have the piece that came with it or something that I wrote down, because I normally do that. So I don't know what happened to it. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it was a little heavier, not quite as heavy as Peltex, but heavier than the sewing interfacing. All right, so we're going to push this down. Now we're doing this just like you do a mug rug. This is a great big huge mug rug with tabs on it. And I'm just pushing the corners. In fact, I need this. I'm going to use my point turner and just push this out. And I really don't want to use that pointy end on here. I don't want to run the risk of, so I'm going to try to curve that. I may have to get a pencil or something. This one curved real well. All right, so I'm going to take the tape off of this and take the tape off of this one. And there's our tabs. And I'm not real happy with this quilting up here. I should have used red thread. All right, so let's pull that straight. And we're going to push this down. And we're going to stick our hand back inside here. Ooh, I got tape everywhere. Come on, let go, tape. All right, so we're going to try to straighten this edge along here. Poke that out. I'm just trying to round out those edges on the bottom. Okay. And Now you could take some steam-a-seam or some of that other sticky adhesive tape and come on, get out there and secure that this middle piece right here so it doesn't stay open, just like you would on a mug rug. All right, so let me go press it. All right, so I have a toothbrush in my sewing room, and it helps. And it got a rounded edge on the end of it, so it helps get these edges rounded out. Oh yes, there we go. All right. All right, so when you press it, you want to press inwards on these edges, inwards, okay? Pressing from the back. And there is my finished block. Okay, so I just put the tabs on here, nice and sturdy. And this is plenty sturdy. You don't need another thing on here. Using these two backs back here help give it plenty of stabilization. Sorry about that. And the tabs worked out perfectly, and I really like that size. So now I have the other two to be added. And if I was doing this again, I would probably do this in another color. I like the gray down here, but this white on that red, just, I don't know, maybe I'll get used to it. So this one actually, let me take it off of here, move that out of the way. So you don't have to go to the expense of buying the fusible fleece. If you like to use it, you can use it. You could also, instead of a tearaway stabilizer, you could use, so that one will go there. And then sacrifice and then honor will go here. Alrighty, I hope you will enjoy these. I like the length, even though, you know, you've got this bottom, we'll call it a bottom rod or rung down here. I like the extra length on that. And I am going to make the other two that same length. I have ordered the smaller table stand, and I've made this, like I said, in 4 different sizes. I've made it basically the same width, just up to here. So it'll show this bottom. So it'll show the bottom rung or rod or whatever we want to call it. And then I've made one for the smaller stand, which is done in the 6x10 hoop. Both the one that fits within here, it's done in the 6x10 hoop. Then the smaller stand I don't have yet, and I'm waiting on it too. I ordered it from Amazon, and it should be here. So I'm hoping that the dimensions that I came up with will fit in between here and here on that smaller one. If not, maybe I might make one that's, you know, down to here on the smaller stand, and then one that's within. And then I made one to fit a 4x4 hoop. That's little bitty, but I know some of you only have 4x4 hoops. And
someone's at the side porch.
Someone's at the side porch. All right, so I answered my door. Sorry about that. Think I was talking about the 4x4. Yeah, the 4x4 design is very tiny, and like I said, I know that some of you only have a 4x4, so I've made it in a 4x4. So there we are. This is the triple stand Remembrance set. And I'll come back and put a picture of all of them in here and show it to you.